Alright guys, so I'm going to be doing my Q&A for Bioshock. As always with these Q&As, I put them on Patreon where you guys can ask questions, and then I do the answers here on YouTube. If you guys would like to be part of the Q&As, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, hit the second tier. That'll let you to get access to the exclusive videos on YouTube, and as well as the movie reviews and polls and whatnot. And it also allows you to ask questions whenever I post for the next Q&A prelude. As always with these Q&As, I usually do like a video subject in question. I always do like a like a video subject, and I always try to, like, rather than multiple subjects, I just focus on one, and this time around we're going to be focusing on arguably one of my favorite video games, Bioshock, like I said. So let's get started with the first question coming from first two questions coming from David Deister, who asks, if you were hired to be a writer for a Bioshock TV show or movie, what would you do? I think I would like to do, like, I think it's the one thing we all want to see, the fall of Rapture. That's the big thing we all want to see. But I'd also love to do like a origin story for origin stories for like Dr. Tannenbaum as well as Andrew Ryan. That would be the TV show, the miniseries or movie I'd like to do, is like a film focusing on Andrew Ryan and the rise. Actually, that's better than the fall, because everyone wants the fall of to see the fall of Rapture, and I'm sure that's what the Netflix movie will be. So instead, now that I think about it, I would do an origin story for Andrew Ryan as well as the rise of Rapture. And, you know, Rapture in its golden age, like the Rapture we saw, like wanted to see. So that's, now it'd be like that. And your second question is, what would you do with a TMNT Bioshock crossover? I would say that I would have Baxter Stockman as the main villain. That's who I would, I couldn't really think of anything right out the gate, but I would say that Baxter Stockman would be the villain, as well as trying to mix mutagen with Eve. That would be kind of cool, like a cool mixture of the two, and see what kind of monstrosities one could make. So, yeah, that's kind of a start. So thank you for those questions, David. Moving on now to Bill McLaughlin, whose first of three questions is, do you think the idea of Rapture as presented in the game could have worked, or was it always doomed to fail? I know we all think that, like, Rapture was like the promise of something beautiful, and the promise that it was gonna be better. It was gonna show the betterment of mankind. Here's the sad fucking fact, though. Here is something like I think people need to understand, is that Rapture was never gonna work. Rapture was never gonna work. Rapture, in essence, is just like Jurassic Park. It's a dream that was not gonna work because human greed and human avarice and humanity's own dark ambitions are just gonna fuck it up. That's the problem. Like, that, I'm sorry to tell you, but, like, that's the whole thing, is that humanity was just gonna fuck it up from the get-go, so there was really nothing we could have done, there's really nothing we could have done to fix the situation. That's the thing I think a lot of people need to understand, is that Rapture was always doomed to fail. And I think that needs to be said more often, that it was doomed to fail. Same with, in Bioshock Infinite and everything else, because once you let humanity off the leash and let them, do as they please, that's when we're at our worst. So yeah, get a little philosophical for you. Second question, what were your thoughts on the twist in Bioshock Infinite? I'm gonna be real with you, I fucking hated it. It ruined the game for me. Like, when I was first playing Bioshock Infinite for the first time, my younger brother, who had played it first, he was like, hey, so you're really not gonna like, how you liking Bioshock Infinite? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's pretty good, I'm having a lot of fun with it, I'm enjoying it. And he goes, you're gonna hate that ending. And I'm like, I'm sure I'm not. Like, I know, we may have differing opinions. It was like, who knows, maybe I'll enjoy it. Nope, fucking hated that ending. That's all I'm gonna say. I fucking hated that ending. It ruined the whole game for me. Anyway, your final question is, how do you think a Rapture run by David Xanatos would go down? If it was run by Xanatos, it would be more... I feel like it would be the same thing with Ryan. I feel like it would be the same kind of... We'd run into the same issues with Ryan, but the difference is that Andrew Ryan cared more about, people reaching their full potential, Xanatos would care about their full potential as long as it worked in his favor. That's the big difference here, is that he would be more concerned about the idea, he'd be more concerned about having all of those ideas and potential done, but for him instead. So there you go. So thank you for the questions, Bill. Moving on now to Tom Hibbert, whose first of 3 questions is: we all know the twist in the original Bioshock, where it's revealed Jack, the original protagonist in the first game, hadn't been in control of his actions and his life had been a lie. But in a sense, we're getting however, we're getting a movie from Netflix. Do you think the twist won't work, considering it's a famous twist? And 2, Jack is a silent protagonist in the game, so we really don't know how he feels in the moment. You see, that's one of the reasons why I'm worried about this Bioshock movie, and why I hope it's the fall of Rapture and not trying to tell the game. Because Jack's whole thing, we know the twist, and Netflix will try to put their, here's the thing, is that Netflix and whatever studios behind it will be like, oh, we know what you're expecting because you want the video game, right? So we're going to do something totally different. We're going to do a totally different thing, and you're going to hate it more. We're going to do something totally different because we think we're smarter than the writers for the game. Plus, like you said, Jack is a silent protagonist, and they're going to have him talk, and God knows they'll probably have like Jason Momoa or something play Jack, and he'll do like one-liners or something, when that's clearly not who Jack is from what we've seen of the character. But yeah, I think that's why I say, we do the fall of Rapture, where we focus not so much, because we know the story. You don't have to fuck with the story. The story's good. You can give us the prequel and say, you want to know the rest of the story? Go play the game. Yeah. So that's what I just think. Second question: what are your thoughts on Bioshock 2? I think it's alright. I don't know. I never understood the hate for Bioshock 2. I understand it's not great. I understand that Bioshock 2 really isn't perfect. I'm gonna say that much, is that Bioshock 2, if you're gonna compare stories to parts 1 and 2, it's no contest that 1 has the better story. However, having said that, though, I do think there's some fun moments in the second game, and I think it's a decent enough time. I thought it was alright. Nothing spectacular, but, it's hard trying to follow up perfection, right? That's kind of the thing. It's kind of just hard to follow up on perfection. I think we can all agree on that. So, and your third question is, what would the Doctor think of Andrew Ryan? He would absolutely hate him. I think the Doctor would absolutely fucking despise Andrew Ryan as a person, because he would be like, I've seen humans like you throughout time and space. I have seen, so many so many forms of humans that are just you. You think you are, you think you're superior, and you think you know what's best for humanity, when really you're just kind of helping mankind destroy itself because you think you're better than everyone else. That's how I kind of see it. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Tom Hibbert. Moving on now to Cyborg 19.99, who asks, what DC villain would you see wanting Rapture? I could see Doctor Doom, for starters. Doctor Doom would probably be one person who would probably want Rapture for himself. I could totally see that happening. As for others, Lex Luthor, Kingpin would probably be a lot like Frank Fontaine. So those are just a few that come to mind, really. I do think those would be... I think those ones would come to mind first and foremost. And your second question is, do you think Wolverine could survive in the City of Rapture? Probably. I think the thing is, though, the Evo would probably burn out of his system, because I don't think it could mess with his genetic mutation, and his healing factor would kind of burn it out of his system eventually. But it would be kind of cool to see him using, the electricity through his claws, or the heat or ice through his claws. That'd be kind of cool. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Cyborg. Moving on now to Alistair Bondman, whose set of questions are... in all 3 Bioshocks, we've seen so-called utopia ideals turn into living nightmares. What other possible settings or utopias or ideologies would you like to see given the Bioshock treatment, and how might you write their fall from grace? That is way too big for me to for me to really talk about. Like that's a big question right there. That is honestly a pretty big that's a pretty big question right there. It's pretty loaded too. I don't know. If we're to play another Bioshock game, though, I would like to see like a subterranean utopia. If we're gonna do another, I've heard like on and off that we may get another Bioshock game, and if so, I would personally really love to see a game set in like a subterranean era or like an orbital station. If we're gonna talk about like that stuff. Anyway, so your second question is, if Rapture/Columbia existed in the following universes, and various government agencies, criminal organizations, and heroic organizations learned of their existence and tried infiltrating, taking over these cursed cities during their falls, how well or badly would this go? The following groups are the Lagoon Company from Black Lagoon, Amanda Waller and the Suicide Squad, Global Justice and Kim Possible, Vile, Carmen Sandiego, The Major, and Section 9 from Ghost in the Shell. Lagoon Company would just be up there, like, selling shit. Like, that's the thing, is that, Revy and all of them would be up there, you know, just selling shit for everybody, and, selling weapons and Evo and gun running. They wouldn't care about, you know, trying to take it over. Amanda Waller, on the other hand, Waller would definitely be, the first person to really want to, like, she'd be the bitch that would be trying to get stuff, and I could see her using the Suicide Squad to invade Rapture or Columbia in general. As for Vile, they wouldn't want anything but to steal the Evos. That's the thing. They would steal the Eve from people in Adam and sell it to, worldwide. They wouldn't. Again, it's another group of, we don't really want to take over anybody. We're just here to sell shit. And finally, Section 9. From Ghost in the Shell, they would want to shut it down. Yeah, no questions asked. They would definitely want to shut it down no matter what. So there you go. All right. And your third question is, in the original Bioshock trailers, the original trailers for Bioshock Infinite, we saw or were led to believe that their original story for Bioshock Infinite from the teaser gameplay would have it being quite different from what we got in the story upon release. Various morality tests, using or abusing Elizabeth, reality warping powers to our advantage, both inside and out combat, as well as, as I said, moral choices, similar to Harvest's spare mechanics from Bioshock 1 and 2. Basically the question Alistair is asking is that the question is, would I have wanted that game for Bioshock Infinite? Like, would I have preferred wanting that as the game for Bioshock Infinite? I'm gonna go out and say, yeah, I would have liked to have seen, like, more abilities. Like, we were kind of teased this whole thing of, like, morality and whatnot, but I heard somewhere that they had done that twice already with the games, and they felt like they wanted to do something different, so they changed that halfway through the game, through game development. So that's what I heard, but I kind of like the idea that, Booker was a more developed character, so that would have worked more than Jack or the other characters from Bioshock 2. I feel like that would have been the best example of doing the morality test than anything else, really. So, yeah, I would have preferred that, honestly. Would have made the game a little more interesting. And the twist may or may not have, been better or worse for it. So there you go, guys. That is pretty much my Q&A. This was another quick one. That was my Bioshock Q&A. I'd like to thank everyone who sent in questions for this Q&A. And you guys tell me in the comments below, do you guys like it, hate it? And once again, if you'd like to be part of the next Q&A, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, hit the second tier, and just be prepared for the next Q&A whenever I drop the next prelude for it. Anyway, once again, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.